Good evening. Yeah, sorry, this is just an addendum to what I just put up. I figured since this is about Atlas Property Group as well, we should take a further look at what information we gleaned about this entity. That for whatever reason, again, now it might not be anything other than COVID-19 is the reason why they closed that office, but it is kind of interesting, the questions and the fact that the numbers are all disconnected. There's no way to get a hold of them. I haven't spoken to the neighbors yet to see if there's any contact information been sent out, but they're not giving us notification of anything in writing, not even when workers supposedly show up lately. Anyway, all of which has been documented. But so I guess just to be fair, let's look and see what other people are saying about Atlas Property Group. So bear with me. Sorry, I'm not going to make this very long. Back to the web page, Atlas Property Group. Just did Atlas Property Group Waterloo customer reviews, and I see that this comes up. So that's the one where it says permanently closed. Atlas Property Group website directions save. 109 Google reviews. 2.6 or 2.8 star rating. So on the preliminary thing, and let's just take a look at before we click on that. So reviews, great service, and the maintenance manager is really sweet. While cleaning the apartment, I found dead roaches underneath the sink. Sent you invoice for unit cleaning, wall fixing, etc. Okay, view all Google reviews. So let's take a look. And here we have, right off the bat, and this is about one Atlas Property Group in Waterloo, the company we're talking about. So Melanie J, 24 reviews, 3 photos. Stay away, especially with Andy's apartment landlord. Started and during my stay. Carpet not being shampooed fully the house. Missing furnitures like mattress, chair, and or table in different rooms. Water boiler had problem for a long time till they actually fixed it. Had to reset water boiler and wait for an hour or so every time before showering. Air conditioner never worked well. Free sauna every day. After my stay, it'd take forever. It has been more than a year and I haven't got back to return key deposit. I have asked around different units of tenants. They haven't got theirs back either, especially people who rent the unit together in a group. Atlas will never help you, keeps pushing you to landlord. 2, sent you invoice for unit cleaning, wall fixing, etc. My roommates and I were gentle to the wall and cleaned the unit before we left. They just don't want to pay you money. Also cleaning is which I didn't even got mine at the beginning. To Andrew, I hope you feed yourself very well, stay healthy with all of your tenants' key deposits. So again, and this is Waterloo, Ontario. In Ontario, as far as I'm aware, it is illegal, unlawful for a landlord to require a key deposit in Ontario. I'm not sure if that applies to student housing because it might be under a different contract, but I'm pretty sure that if the law says you're not allowed to do a key deposit, that includes under any contract for business. So that's something we may want to look into. There you got Matthew Maz, 1 review, 4 photos. Should we look at her photos maybe? Nah, let's not go into that. We're just going to do a quick review. Feel free to look at this yourself. Okay, so second review. Put me up at a hotel because there was water damage in my room upon move-in. Seems like they're trying their best to resolve everything given the circumstances. So again, I guess they didn't have it ready for rent. It obviously says that there was water damage. Anyway, but they did, under that circumstance, it appears that they operated properly. They made accommodation, and they repaired it, and obviously he probably went back in afterwards and was able to do it. And that's the way it's supposed to work. Okay, you're supposed to be cooperative on both ways. Third review, Narasan Surendran. This would be a good place to contact if you're looking for an affordable and nice place to live. The basement unit I've lived in is quite spacious. It looks like it's been renovated recently and it is clean. It's easy to get into contact with Atlas. If you have any questions via email, they respond quickly. I would recommend this company as a place to go. They can help you find your next place to live. And that was a year ago. A month ago, John Curzon, so let's see. Looks like Melanie J., the first one was only 7 months ago. The second review, Matthew Mass, was 2 years ago. Okay, Narasan Surendran was a year ago. Now we're up to John Krukowski, a month ago. They're stuck up for the privileged, don't care about community. Then a year ago, I hope I say these names properly. Rakaya Khan, maybe. Atlas Property Group was diligent, responsive, and successful in getting our property rented this year. Such a pleasant group of people to work with and always professional. I would highly recommend the other property owners to give business to Atlas if they want the job done right. So obviously they're appealing to landlords with their management style. Sonambola, a year ago. If you're a student looking to rent, don't go with Atlas. The first day I moved in, the cleaners had not even showed up yet, so the place was disgustingly dirty. I had to clean my room up myself. During the second week, a part of the ceiling literally broke and fell on my bed while I was asleep, and they treated it like it was no big deal. I called the maintenance extension and they told me I have to put in a request through the website, which I did. And they came a week later to fix it while I slept with a hole in my ceiling. Moreover, no one ever picks up their emergency extension, as I've tried to do so several times. I was locked out of my apartment for hours once. Also, I was sent an invoice for repair damages that did not even occur in my room. Then fast forward to now, when I thought I'd finally be done with them, I went to go return my keys and get my key deposit back, and their office door was locked during business hours. I called them several times over the span of 3 hours, and even left them an email, and they never got back to me. Therefore, I did not get my key deposit returned to me. I've been living in Waterloo for 4 years now, and I have dealt with many rental property companies, but have never come across one as unprofessional as Atlas. And it looks like there's 4 legs to that. Carson Hummer, one review a year ago. Stay clear of this company. I lived in 4 different houses throughout university with 4 different property management companies: Hotel Laurier, Loyalist, WOCH, and Atlas. And this is by far the worst experience from a student rental perspective. I suggest avoiding some of our experiences described below. 1. Moved into the unit only to find a unit that had not been cleaned at all since the past tenants. Rotten, moldy food in the fridge, old furniture, one room smelled like cigarette smoke, and just really dirty in general. 2. Maintenance requests took an extremely long time to be handled, and there is very little communication on when things will be looked after. Oh, they went well, but it should be will be looked after, I guess. We didn't have cupboard doors for 6 months before they finally came to fix them. 3. Water was leaking into one bedroom, which took months to handle. At one point, they were just going to leave the leak and replace the floor because it was only a small leak. It took over 3 months till the bathroom was livable again, and had to move into another room within the unit that was empty for the semester. After all this, had to battle with them to get rent money back for a room that sat empty for months. Garbage removal was supposed to be responsibility of Atlas as well. Some weeks they would take it out while others wouldn't, causing garbage to build up and blow all over the property. April Adam, 2 reviews a year ago. Atlas Property Management were very understanding with my situation and were really great people. I'm very happy they took over the building I was living in. It's going to be a great place. Chief Financial Officer worked really hard to help me with my situation. He was very helpful. I highly recommend this company. Samran Hyundai a year ago. Simran Handal? It should be Handal, I guess. Handal. I would strongly advise anyone against leasing with this company. I could write an entire essay about the awful experiences I had with them in only a 4-month lease takeover. When I moved into our apartment, it was dirty. No one came to clean it prior to our move-in date, despite the fact that it was a lease takeover and not a sublet. While cleaning the apartment, I found dead roaches underneath the sink. It was already terrible first impression, and yet this company managed to get worse throughout the 4 months I had to deal with them. They messed up my payment method despite what was specified on my lease, pre-authorized debt, and did not even contact me at all before suddenly threatening to kick me out if I did not pay by the end of the day. What kind of leasing company doesn't even set up payment methods correctly based on what's specified on a lease? When I replied, they were not apologetic at all, despite how poorly they handled the situation. Their cleaners came into my apartment before I was fully moved out and either took or threw away $150 worth of my belongings. I immediately put in a complaint, and yet it took months to get my money back. I had to email Mike constantly from the end of April all the way through May, June, and July to only today got reimbursement. There is no fathomable way getting reimbursement for something that was so clearly their fault should take 3 entire months. I was only when I was threatened to come to their office in person that action was taken. I lived in people's basement during co-op, and my landlords were more competent than this entire leasing company. For a company that seems to enjoy scamming university students any chance they get, I don't think they deserve even 1 star. For all the reasons above, among others, I really would never recommend this company to anyone. Auburn Center, one review a year ago. The Auburn Center has a privilege of working with Atlas Property Group to manage 2 of our student housing properties in Waterloo. The staff at Atlas are friendly, knowledgeable, competent, caring, and go above and beyond to take care of student housing properties and try their level best to sort any issues that arise for residents and owners alike. We wish them the very best and always continue the great work that they are doing. So apparently the landlords really like them. Katie Windley. We booked the boardroom at Burt Social for a team meeting, and we're very happy with our choice. The space is nice, bright, clean, and comfortable, and there is a variety of delicious food, drinks to choose from. Booking was very simple. The team was quite responsive and accommodating. We'll be back. So obviously they rent boardrooms and stuff like that too, office space. Okay, so Attila Ramati. 2 years ago, as a property owner, I am more than happy with Atlas Property Group. I have 2 investment properties that, over the course of 2 years, they have increased their net operating income by more than 15%. Their Chief Financial Officer, Mark, and spelt with a C, has taken my financial understanding of real estate investing to another level, and their entire team has been amazing to work with. Thank you so much. I am excited to build my portfolio with you, with your team. And you notice that's Mark with a C. Mark Koenig has a name with it. That's Mark Koenig, possibly, because I don't know any other Mark that works for Waterloo. And he's identified as Chief Financial Officer in that email 2 years ago, it looks like. Let's see what that says. Let's confirm. That 2 years ago was posted. That's their Chief Financial Officer. CFO stands for Chief Financial Officer. Ashi B. A year ago. Worst leasing company I've ever dealt with. Definitely will not be looking at any Atlas-owned properties ever again. Horrible management and completely disorganized. The Atlas cleaning staff took mine and my roommate's belongings, totally up to $160, and removed them from our apartment, obviously without our consent. I had contacted the staff at Atlas about this multiple times, trying to get reimbursement for the items, and now my emails are being ignored. It's been well over 2 months. Strongly advise everyone to avoid signing with this company. When I tried to get in contact with finance, Bridget, the office manager, spoke extremely rudely to me to the point of yelling on the phone. Update: Atlas has now replied to every review except mine, trying to resolve their issues. Meanwhile, mine is clearly being ignored, has not been yet resolved. We are here to help and will work with you to ensure everything is resolved in a timely manner. Atlas, maybe you could start off with resolving existing problems in a timely manner, considering I've now been waiting for 4 months. Stephanie Amber, 2 years ago, Atlas staff has been very friendly and helpful since they have taken over the management of my building. After losing my keys, they were quick to get them back to me with new copies. Also, they helped my friend do a lease takeover with my old roommate. My old roommate easily found a place in all her friends on another Atlas property with their assistance. Maggie Braden, a year ago. Very professional, helpful, and pleasant to interact with. They recently took over the building my family and I live in. Mark, CFA now. I don't know what's, maybe CFA, I don't know what that, Chief Financial Administrator or something, I don't know. Anyway, has been very helpful with helping us make the transition into a new unit in our building. We are new to renting, and he has been very knowledgeable and accommodating. Mike, property manager, is very nice. He is easy to contact, very pleasant. Brent, who is painting and doing work on the unit, was very kind, letting us come in and look at it while he was painting and showing us around. I have been to the office, and the whole team is pleasant, personable. I would highly recommend them if you were looking to rent. Gee, I'm sure that some of these are probably just padding it because of all the bad reviews, I guess. Eh? Okay, so, but that's my opinion. Based on experience, and look at the ones that they're accommodating. Anyway, Aditya Prakash Suhag. Their office, 10 months ago. Their office time is still 5 p.m. on weekdays. Whenever I have called in the afternoon, I've always heard that no one is in office. Lack of professionalism. Simran Baal, a year ago. Worst experience. The AC has been broken for 2 years now. They briefly repaired it a month ago. It's broken again now, and they have given no timeline for repair. My fridge has been broken for 6 days, but they have had no repair timeline and refuse to compensate for my groceries. They will never answer the phone, and when they do, it is also useless. Havitsig, 2 years ago. One of the properties were flooded, but it really wasn't the fault of Atlas Properties. This delayed our move-in date, but they've been pretty accommodating in letting my friends and I select a hotel close to our university. Mark from Atlas has been in communication with me throughout the process and updating me on the situation. They're pretty much doing whatever they can. They made a tough decision a bit easier on us. Of course, they'd be making that claim through insurance on behalf of the tenant. Kyle A., 2 years ago. Atlas Property Group has an outstanding staff that helped me find a place to rent in the Waterloo area. I am a student and didn't know the area well, so it was nice to have someone to help in finding a space. I have been a student here for 2 years now and have no complaints. Highly recommend them to anyone looking to rent in the area. I'm sure they probably satisfied some people. It's in the problematic areas where they're having trouble, I guess. But then everybody does. Anyway, personal experience is what I quote from as well. Looks like other people have had the same personal experience. Deep Dylan. Or Dylan. Dylan? Dylan. Deep. Or it could be Deep. I'm not sure. I think it's Deep. Deep Dylan. I hope I said that right. I'm just trying to say it right. Anyway. I'm a current Atlas resident having the worst experience of my life. They have falsely advertised the air conditioning in my unit since it is broken, and they have no timeline of when they will fix it. My fridge broke down last night. I called them, and they have no timeline when they can fix it. Also, can you try calling at least 100 times and they don't pick up, or they just don't pick up? B, a year ago. This company has got to be the absolute worst group of property managers I have ever had the utter misfortune of dealing with my entire life. They don't even deserve 1 star. They passed me to sign the lease several months in advance, and while I was short of options, had little choice but to sign and live with a couple of friends and a couple of random other students. On move-in day, the apartment was filthy, horribly stained carpets, walls looked like they were in the middle of repairs from the last tenants, garbage everywhere. The fridge was partially broken and leaked. Half of the stove burners did not work. The laundry machines were in disrepair. Thinking about toilets makes me gag to this day. I could go on, and I will. Okay. It took me an hour to clear my room of trash before I could move boxes in. We sent in a request for cleaners. It was ignored. The second request we filed was acknowledged, and they said they would send custodians within a few days. I thought that was unreasonable enough. But they didn't show until 3 weeks later, and they couldn't even fully clean the toilets, or maybe they didn't even try. Every staff member I dealt with was rude and didn't seem at all interested in lifting a finger to help, despite how diplomatic I was being. Second day of living in that apartment, they cut the power without warning or explanation. When we called them to find out why, they told us they were supposed to set up our own utility accounts. This was not specified in the lease. A couple months in November, the water heater dies. We sent 2 repair requests in as a unit, both of which we were ignored. I personally harassed their info email and the agent who signed us to get it fixed. They finally got around to replacing it in February. We went 4 months without hot water in the middle of winter. We couldn't even contact the landlord. Atlas would not give us the contact information. Our water was starting to turn brown. As if this wasn't enough, a couple of my roommates made a habit of breaking into my room, vandalizing and stealing my things. I figured out that my locked door could be opened with no more than a light hip check. They ignored my emails. After a month of this happening, they sent their head of repairs. Finally, I thought, something might go right. Again, I was wrong. His solution to securing my door was threading another lock bar cover over the flimsy sheet metal door frame. I could pry off with my hands. My roommates continued to break in until eventually one of them shattered the plywood lock housing and stole the internet and modem. I was renting for the whole apartment. I did not feel safe. I couldn't bring guests. The last 3 months of tenancy I spent slowly moving out with another friend and almost never sleeping in my own apartment. Atlas repeatedly deflected my concerns until I contacted the CEO about my issues and the horrible conditions. It took him a week to get back to me and another 2 to set up a meeting. We had the meeting and made a plan, but he never delivered on anything. Security was abysmal. The codes for the front door and maintenance rooms were 1, 2, 3, 4. I couldn't take it anymore and left a month early. My criminal roommates decided it would be a great time to turn my room into the personal dumpster and proceeded to trash the entire apartment. Several months after leaving this realm of hell, I get an email saying $17,000 worth of damage was done to the property and I was to pay a portion, $4,500, because I was still locked in the lease for the month of damage occurred. Never do business with or give Atlas the time of day, period. Never got the promotional free month or rent or got that outrageous $250 key deposit back. If Atlas was the only housing company in town, I'd rather live in a cardboard box behind a YMCA. And that's got 5 likes. So let me see, when was this left? A year ago. Two years ago. Attention, future tenants on 316 King Street North. There has been a very unfortunately incident at the building you will be moving into. If this email reaches you and you are not moving into 316 King Street North at the start of September, please disregard this email. The former tenant of penthouse at 316 King Street North attempted to flood the entire unit while moving out. While doing this, water reached much more than just the penthouse. Multiple units have been affected. All the damage were very minor, and most units are not damaged. Hang on, when was this? 2 years ago. Most units were all damage is very minor. Most units are not damaged. For the units that have been affected, most of the damage has already been repaired, and what remains is replacing the carpets and some drywall. All the units are habitable. We understand this will be inconvenient and frustrating for many of you during the first week of residency at this building. We have been working day and night to prepare the units for all of you. Hope you can be understanding. Okay, so this looks like it's from... Okay, so that's the letter sent. Okay, it looks like. Now, here's what she says. My daughter was to move in September 3rd. When we got there, we found that her apartment was not inhabitable. They have this person named Mike, who is the worst person ever to deal with. Look at the email they sent us on September 1st. They wanted us to pay for the hotel and then have the nerves to tell us that they will only deduct $100 off the rent. I am waiting for my lawyer to contact me back regarding the email and video I sent her. Okay, so let's do one last one. I think we're getting this hint here. So a year ago, Steve Sanders, incredibly unprofessional, flooded apartments, roaches, no exterminators when requested, violence in and out of the building. They housed the building for the summer with drug addicts from a mission, housing some of these addicts with students after summer ended. Heating and cooling broke down for months on end. There are plenty of places to live in Waterloo and Kitchener, but I would avoid Atlas. Update. Atlas Management stating they have changed management is a non-issue. My mail-in packages are missing from the unit. Other tenants are experiencing this as well. I'll be approaching the Landlord Tenant Board and discussing the malpractice I've experienced. We'll be pursuing legal action if I don't find my belongings, as my previous roommates say my things are no longer in the unit. It is unbelievable that these things are missing, let alone the experience I had with whatever management existed before or after I lived there. Initially pleasant staff to deal with. As soon as problems with the units during the summer of the flood occurred, I was told some rent would be void due to the absolutely unacceptable living conditions my roommates and I were forced to endure for months. Mark vetoed this, and my credit has been impacted due to their unwillingness to cooperate with tenants who always paid rent on time. And cause no problems during their stay. So not only do personal items go missing, living conditions are deteriorating. Drug addict tenants used to fill vacant rooms as neighbors for the summer, but they will tamper with your life long after they refuse to take ownership for problems they could have prevented in the first place or corrected on their end by showing tenants a sign of goodwill by finding reasonable solutions. Mark, again with a C, which include, I would assume that would be Mark Koenig, it's the only Mark there with a C, said that I would have to pay the outstanding rent and then go to the Landlord Tenant Board. So collecting my money and then disappearing like they do with some of the tenants who still waiting response from owners. Scroll down to see the review posted 4 days ago stating that tenants' personal belongings are missing and still no reply from management. Like I'm some sort of idiot who would willingly pay for something that is stacked with problems. This staff should be ashamed of itself and will never work to correct the problems. So as mentioned, Landlord Tenant Board and legal action seem to be the only acceptable response to the blatant disregard for professionalism displayed by the predatory staff. Bridget is the only person I have dealt with that shows any level of respect towards me. Mike, the property manager, was pleasant enough to deal with during my interaction with him regarding the situation, as at the time I believed he had just stepped into the role and was immediately thrown into damage control. Extremely unfair to him. But again, Mark angrily vetoed this in front of me and said I had to pay him before they would even consider reimbursing me for the damages and horrific living conditions. Definitely taking this as a role as CFO to a level that isn't cohesive to dealing with problems such as clearly the agenda is keeping as much money to fix the $250,000 in damage caused by the coke dealer tenant in the penthouse whom they let live there knowing he was involved in criminal activities prior to him flooding all of the apartments. I'll be reaching out via phone to discuss should the supposedly new management wish to avoid my complaints to the board and reply to this with willingness to working with me. Until then, absolutely avoid this company at all costs. Read the reviews. Enough information is there to show they are not right fit for you. So just to show you. Not good removing snow or ice from driveways. So anyway, there's 109 reviews. I don't know how many we got to. I'm not sure how many we got to. It seems to be a thread of consistency. Seems to be a consistency thread to how they operate. So anyway, I guess we're not the only ones, eh? But Municipal Affairs City of Waterloo, I mean, we would go to our regional representative, but it happens to be our mayor as well, which are both intrinsically attached to these decisions. Either way, I submit that was property group had a lot of reason to pull up stakes and leave if that's what they did, and it doesn't have anything to do with COVID, because again, some of these are just from a couple months ago. We've been dealing with them for the last 2 years. So anyway, business as usual. It's only business. Obviously, again, this is the extent of how the city is not responding to complaints by it's lawful currency, lawful tenancies that are negotiated but not adhered to. There is no enforcement except for retaliation against anybody who seems to stand up for themselves. So there's fraud, and all in the context of rental licensing and checks and balances that are said to be in place that are to ensure the safety and security of person. Anyway, I guess there's more information. Sorry for the length. Just wanted to be fair too. I'm not the only opinion here. Again, I read the good ones too. You be the judge yourself whether or not. I mean, I'm sure some of them are legitimate from their perspective at that point in time. Be interesting to do follow-up and see where they feel now, though. The other thing, too, is, again, as far as I'm aware of, under the law and regulations in Ontario, they are not allowed under any circumstances, under residential or otherwise, to charge you a deposit for your key. Even a hotel, motel, if you lose your key, they have the right to charge you to replace it. But they do not have a right to charge for a key in order to obtain it and to use it. That is part of the lease. Now, some other provinces, as far as I know, in Vancouver and stuff like that, like BC and other provinces, they do have legislation that allows for a key deposit, security deposit. But as far as I know from the last time I checked Residential Tenancies Act, there is under no circumstances allowed to be a key deposit. And I believe that also, I may be wrong, but you want to check into it. But I believe that extends to student housing as well, because as the law states, you are not to have any key deposit of any kind. Again, they cannot demand as part of the rent that you give a key deposit even in a contract. Again, they can stipulate in that contract that should you lose that key and they have to replace it, this is what it would be. But I'm pretty sure that as far as the law goes in Ontario, you are not allowed to charge a key deposit whatsoever. So do your own research into that, and if that's what you found out, and if any of these issues that you're dealing with or have dealt with you believe that you have continuity with what we're expressing here and what we've documented and shown over these last 2 years as well. The spirit of cooperation between these apparent willing partners, being the authorities and the people in position of administering the law. Anyway, if you think that you've been harmed by these people, then please join us. We will do a class action. We are seeking to do a class action. We are seeking to definitely have people removed and to have the law adhered to. And we are immediately asking that these properties be inspected. Immediately. All 4 properties. Because obviously we're not the only ones who hold this opinion. Anyway, again, the whole reason why this is put up there is so that you can be the judge as well. Are your taxes being well looked after? Again, 100A Marshall Street. It has not been completed for the work order even to this day. There's been no checks and balances to determine whether or not it has, and all things must be completed before that work order is complete. So they made the mess. They can clean it up. Doesn't matter. The bottom line is it is still not to code. It is still not even to the aspects of their standard practice, because I guess that's what they base their work order on. So it's not even met that standard yet, and yet here we are. So they're not allowed to do that. And if they were applying the law correctly, you're talking that I believe the value that the assessed property next door is $367,000 to $400,000 or something like that for 100A, which he was assessed for the taxes for 2020. based on the way that structure for just the daily fine goes, City of Waterloo, and it's to be collected as taxes, which is why they're not allowed to just go, oh, well, forget it, which is why the finance minister has been informed. That means that the total value of that property is, the fine now exceeds the total value of that, the assessed value of that property, which means the City of Waterloo basically owns that whole property. At the very least, the city certainly has the power to enter these properties, determine properly whether they are to code or not, and the law is specific to say that if the landlord is not cooperating, that you are to take it upon yourself to correct the situation and send them the bill. You are not allowed to keep re-renting it to new tenants, using it as an industry to sit there and create more charges for applications for services, and paying lawyers to go get something that should be done without asking for it. And Law Society of Upper Canada and those people that are responsible for teaching these people how to do the law, it's time you stop practicing and start actually doing the law. Just practicing the law is bullshit. Anyway, we have a lot of things to look forward to coming to 2021, and the first thing I'd like to see is we need a referendum for a total change on the charter that banks are following. Again, chartered by the Crown, which means controlled by the Crown, and that is why this is a readjustment of their assets. They are ignoring all laws and everything. They are over-evaluating properties. The reason why they're allowing small businesses to close is because a lot of them are probably long-term leases. Because the way it's done now is all they got to do is kick you out of there, and they can set it however you want. There was a response here on Atlas Property Group where one of the landlords was saying that in 2 years they had upped his income by 15%. So how does he do that when the maximum rent thing? It's because they're cutting services. They're ignoring the law, and they're being allowed to get away with it, which puts a further burden on the taxpayer. But the biggest thing too is these rental properties happen to be mostly covered by banking mortgages, loans, which have to be insured by law for the proper value, the intrinsic, not on paper. That's why it's supposed to be based on minimum building code, because that is the real value of that property. So right now you have all these properties that are not being, like these properties here. If they were forced to be put on the market at fair market value less what is required to get it to building code standard, these buildings would not be worth the money that the paper's written on, even the insurance. So the cost of that, and again, the whole reason why the law is there is to make sure that the value is real, because if it's not real, that's fraud. Whether the bank is encouraging it and using, this is the business model. So the first thing that has to happen is all these properties, especially when it comes to rentals, and if they're connected to a loan, I'm sure under the current law are required, including for insurance, are required to be based on property value. So we need to have the finance minister do, or auditor general, whoever does it, do a partial audit of the market in evaluating the real property value of these properties, especially in Waterloo region. We ask you to start with Waterloo region. If you are a tenant of Atlas Property Group, do what we did. Again, it may not apply to your residents because under student rentals there are different changes to the system. But again, this is all to protect landlords and not tenants, is our opinion. But you should go and get the property standards bylaw. You go get the building code, and you start doing what we did. Go take a look at our videos at the very beginning. All it is get yourself a video camera and document the process, okay, as much as you can. That way you won't have to repeat yourself. You just press play, okay, and you don't miss anything. Plus, not only that, you're able to review it and check to see that your information is correct. You're able to, adapt to what is right, and the whole purpose is trying to give correct information while demonstrating exactly what's going on. It's not he said, she said, it's like watch. Again, description parts of the video series, most of which contain actual links to the actual documentation we have already obtained from the city and the region through public records. Because of our nature of our investigation, obviously, we've got some people concerned because everybody's shutting it down. Obstruction of justice, obstruction of anything to do with this. We're going to try and do our best to continue to move forward. And we hope that you help become part of the solution. We need to demand more integrity from those who claim it. And again, the bottom line is this. If this is freedom, why are our hands tied? Even for just the basic things. And again, anybody who's facing any kind of penalty from Municipal Act enforcement during this pandemic, let me remind you that under equality under the law, they are not allowed to pick and choose which ones they will be enforcing. So if they are not enforcing, you are getting enforced on by wherever you are in this province, because municipality is provincial as well. And it applies to the whole province, not regions. Regions are in the province. And for some reason they try to distract people by saying that we're not the sum of its parts. You know, everybody's emotional and off balance for a reason. And they're taking advantage. You will immediately cease all evictions at landlord tenant. But hey, you know what? We're welcome. We will be seeing you. Don't worry. We're there. Better be ready. We are. May your God bless you and keep you safe. Stay safe. Try to create and build up rather than tear down and destroy. And you know what? It's a very dark time right now, you know, and it's hard to find light, you know, lightness in being and light within oneself. You know, when you find darkness, the only thing I can leave you with is this. You know, they say even in a dark hole, a black hole, light can't escape. Maybe what the issue is, instead of looking at it scientifically, maybe what you need to remember, and especially if you're afraid of the dark, is that the way you get rid of the dark is you shine. Become the light. Remember the light that can't escape because it doesn't remember its light. You shine brightly and all of a sudden the darkness is dimmed. And what I mean by that is, you know, you might feel dark in yourself and helpless and whatever, and this is from my personal experience. Go outside of yourself. Find somebody who genuinely needs assistance. Try, you know, that when we feel powerless in ourselves, and that's what this is, it's a power thing. We feel powerless, and they use that against you. They get you emotional where you're feeling helpless and powerless, and you'll cling on to anything that helps you to feel powerful. It's human nature. Behavioral modification. You can't make proper decisions when you're unstable emotionally or otherwise. So they need to stabilize, and that can only come from within. So I felt dark, and the only way I could do it is I went and I started helping other people. That's what got me into Ray of Hope and reaching out to homeless people and whatever, which I was part of for a while too. You know, I never expected to be here. Again, this late in my life. What's your definition of discrimination? I mean, they say there's no discrimination, race discrimination, but what do you call these homes? They're concentration camps. They concentrate the population in one place and then they deal with them as they want. What's the difference? And I'm sorry, but when you get a whole bunch of people who are frail and bad health, the first thing you want to consider is contagious diseases. It's not the last thing on it. And again, Minister of Housing, Education can join together to make sure that HEPA technology is in all of these public facilities, especially for nursing homes. That would, staff and everybody will tell you right off the bat, that would be half of the battle. If they could have clean air technology, recirculation clean air technology available all the time, or at least as a potential thing to help, because they're running the power and everything anyway. The fact that it's a HEPA system is not that much more expensive. Matter of fact, with the new advances in technologies, it should be more efficient. But the other thing too is, why not go to the universities and make a partnership as a way to prove the upcoming technologies, and make it a requirement as the building code that we will install in all public facilities, schools, hospitals, nursing homes, anything to do with that, with total HEPA technology. That is the minimum standard. It's called ingenuity. It's called innovation. It's called the right thing to do. And you know what? This thing of the crown or whoever it is milking the cow, casualties of war. We try to get something done. They are declaring war on us. This is war. Everything is war-based. We need to change that. Anyway, stay well. Be well. Stay alive. And recognize the wealth and the value of the I am in you. It's the world that's trying to tell you you are not who you are. If the world around you is all messed up, the only thing you should know is yourself, because then that's the constant in everything. And if you don't know yourself, then you allow yourself to be manipulated. You don't allow yourself to grow because of your own mistakes. I feel very sorry for you. Life is hard. The world is difficult. We're here in this together. Do you get that? COVID-19 should have pointed that out to everybody. We are in this together. And I think the silver lining to all this is that we're all starting to realize that what is the real value of a human being? Because there's lots of rich people, billionaires that died from COVID. They didn't take any of it with them. It didn't save them. Anyway, time to give up the human race and become human being. It's just my opinion. Anyway, be well. Good luck. Stay safe. Wear your masks. Wash your face and hands. See, everything we need to learn about life we've got taught in kindergarten. Most of it. Except for how to share properly. Anyway, we can always do better. That's what tomorrow's for. And today.